A shooting in downtown San Jose this morning has left one police officer and a suspect dead. A police spokesman says that the shooting happened during an arrest when the suspect grabbed the gun belonging to one of the officers. Bud Davis says that one officer died at a donut shop where the incident happened. Another officer is in serious condition at a San Jose hospital. The suspect reportedly died during treatment. The identities of those shot are not known at this hour, and details of this entire incident are very sketchy at this point. Of course, we hope to have more for you a little later on in this newscast. Dan?
An historic day for America as George Herbert Walker Bush was sworn in this morning as the 41st President of the United States. That ceremony today in Washington marked the formal transfer of power and the end of the 8-year era of Ronald Reagan. Thousands of people flooded Washington, D.C. this morning to view the parade route and other inaugural events. Marching bands and choral groups lined the White House grounds, greeting the Reagans and the Bushes after a morning breakfast together. Mr. Bush then recited a simple 35-word oath to assume the presidency, the same oath taken by George Washington 200 years ago.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
And will to the best of my ability.
And will to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Supreme Court Justice William Rehnquist administered the oath to Mr. Bush. After the swearing in, Mr. Bush gave the traditional inaugural speech, praising the job done by Ronald Reagan and stressing America's abilities in the new age of freedom.
We know what works. Freedom works. We know what's right. Freedom is right. We know how to secure a more just and prosperous life for man on earth through free markets, free speech, free elections, and the exercise of free will unhampered by the state.
Just moments before Mr. Bush took his office, the Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor administered the vice presidential oath to former Indiana Senator Dan Quayle. Ironically, the oath for the second highest office takes twice as long to read, but is no less important. And then the Marine Band played Hail to the Chief for the first time for President Bush.
As we just saw moments ago, the inaugural parade made its way around Washington, D.C. in front of thousands of spectators. It was a chance for the public to see its newly sworn-in president and for him to see his constituents. After a few minutes on the parade route, President Bush and his wife Barbara decided to get out of the government limousine and walk alongside the parade. Dan Quayle and his wife Marilyn did the same thing for a while. For security purposes, Washington authorities nailed shut all manhole covers along the 1.6-mile parade route. The only delay was a fire on a nearby concession truck. Parade officials wanted to make sure everything went as planned, and from the looks of it, everything did.
The noontime inaugural ceremony was a fitting scene for the departure of Ronald Reagan and wife Nancy. Not since Dwight D. Eisenhower left office in 1961 had a president served a full 2-term limit. And it had been 60 years since a president bequeathed the office to a man of his own party. Ronald Reagan's last hours as president began with a last look at the Oval Office, where he left a handwritten note for George Bush. After the inauguration, the Reagans boarded a helicopter to Andrews Air Force Base, where a plane waited to whisk them away to California, where their new home awaits them in Bel Air. After a quick review of the troops and one last farewell, a reporter asked Mr. Reagan what he would do now that he is once again a private citizen. Mr. Reagan said simply, carry on. And as the Reagans go back to Southern California to live, corporate America is anticipating a financial windfall. Many say Mr. Reagan will lead a very wealthy life outside of Washington. Greg Lamont reports from Los Angeles.
President Reagan may be leaving the White House at age 77, but it's fairly apparent full retirement is not in his future. In fact, he's in for big bucks because he's in big demand.
917, that's KCRA Big Time. Well, as you know, when you have a prospective deal with a major guy like the ex-president of the United States, Ronald Reagan,
This Los Angeles radio station is willing to pay Mr. Reagan $200,000 a year to do a daily 5-minute commentary of his choice.
I think all companies recognize the power that he has and the acceptance that he has. And for him to do any kind of association with your company is a great step forward.
Yeah, I think he can make a fortune of money. After all, his memoirs, he produces a volume of memoirs. I imagine that he'll get $2 or $3 million in advances against royalties for such a book. And you're quite right, his popularity is higher than any other presidents in recent history leaving office.
Richard Nixon has had some speaking engagements, but has remained mostly out of view in New York. Gerald Ford sits on the boards of several corporations, and he plays golf. And Jimmy Carter has been satisfied working on non-political pet projects. But Ronald Reagan is expected to spend time on what will be a very lucrative speaking circuit.
I would think that as a keynote speaker, why, he was easily worth $50,000 or $100,000.
Several corporations are said to be interested in hiring Mr. Reagan as a board member.
I would certainly take him to organizations like AT&T, Procter & Gamble, Ford Motor Company, Chrysler, IBM, the major multinational class corporations that exist in this country.
And just suppose Ronald Reagan said he'd take that radio job, but for $300,000.
We would be willing to negotiate.
No word on whether Mr. Reagan plans to accept the station's offer, but it's clear his negotiating days are far from over. Greg Lamont, CNN, Los Angeles.
8 years ago today, just minutes after Ronald Reagan was inaugurated as the 40th president, 52 American hostages who were being held in Lebanon were released. They had been held for 444 days, and Mr. Reagan's inaugural day turned out to be their Freedom Day. With champagne corks popping and yellow ribbons strung everywhere, the country joined the hostage families in joyfully putting an end to the vigil. The 52 released hostages spent several days at a military hospital in West Germany before flying home to a welcome at West Point. Today, on George Bush's inaugural day, the third year of captivity in Lebanon begins for Terry Waite, the British churchman who worked to free many other hostages in Lebanon. Church services were held in London today to pray for Waite and 2 other British hostages believed held in Lebanon by pro-Iranian militants. The 49-year-old Waite disappeared 3 years ago. These were the last pictures taken of him. He was seized while trying to negotiate the release of 2 American hostages.
Coming up next, we'll be hearing from...
The market is closed on Wall Street. The numbers are already in.
And on this inaugural day, we go now to financial reporter Tom Sullivan for the facts and figures. Tom, how'd the market shape up today on this busy day?
Well, actually, Wall Street's kind of interesting. They're very concerned about what goes on with the administration. They're very concerned about what goes on from Congress. But at the same time, we do not have any real emotions coming out of Washington on most days. And even with the inauguration, all the emotions of the bringing out the new president and the old administration going out, Wall Street does not pay much attention to that, and it was business as usual today. Also, we had some grim news to report to you. Another scandal in the financial community on the commodities exchanges in New York and Chicago. FBI agents have been posing as trading floor brokers on the commodities exchanges for the last 2 years. They say they have conversations where there's been fraud and cheating going on for the last couple of years. Indictments are expected to be handed down within the next couple of months. Wall Street right now, the Dow Jones Industrials are down 375. That's where it closed today at the 2235 level. Volume was busy, not as much as yesterday, 166 million. The advanced decline line, 658 stocks went up, 764 went down. The bond market finished down about 1/3 of a point. Gold was up 480 to finish at 409.30. And a big day for silver, up 20 cents to $6.24 an ounce. I'm Tom Sullivan reporting live, and now back to Dan and Carol.
Thank you, Tom.
We were going to ask him a question.
We were going to ask a question, I guess he went away.
We'll do that later.
No, okay, we'll talk to you later.
It'll hold. In the meantime.
Nice weather finally after the fog. And this morning, you didn't work the morning shift, but it was so foggy this morning. How foggy was it? No, it was literally probably the worst I've seen almost ever here in Sacramento. It was very difficult to even see the freeway off-ramps at about 4 o'clock this morning.
I couldn't even see out to the street practically. You can just see your own front yard, and beyond that, you don't know what exists out there. The true meaning of pea soup. Here's Joe Lizura to tell us more.
Well, that is for sure. It definitely was the foggiest morning in the last 2 years, maybe even longer than that, because it's the worst one so far this season. Last season, we only had about 7 or 8 days worth of fog that were really bad, so this one topped all of those, and we'd have to go back 3 years now to find a day that was worse than this morning. That was the bad news. The good news is tomorrow morning will not be nearly so bad, so we do have something to look forward to. Outside right now, it's 55 degrees. It is not bad at all. 70% for humidity. Wind out of the north at 5 miles an hour. Partly cloudy. Couple of areas of patchy fog still around. But in Stockton, where it's 49 degrees, there's more fog still and a lot of haze in the air. And when you get down to Modesto, it's 42 degrees. Calm wind, 100% humidity, and still a lot of fog around. Well, around the nation, we're looking at 2 main areas. One around the Great Lakes. It's been dropping snow, anywhere from 3 to 8 inches worth of snow. And this time of the year, when you're talking about the middle of January, that's nothing. That's snow flurry activity for those guys. They're used to it. In the southeast, a developing storm started out as early morning rain showers, picking up a little bit of strength now, dropping some very heavy thunderstorms across much of the southeast. Central U.S., fairly sunny. Tropical moisture is moving into Southern California. Some of it will make its way northward. It is not enough to give us any showers, though, but it is enough that it may help turn the tide against the fog, so tonight's fog will not be nearly as thick as the fog was before. Precipitation-wise, we go almost all the way over to the west coast, right in the very northwest before we see any rain here. Then we've got to go to the southeast to pick up the next batch of showers and thunder showers. As I said before, some thunderstorms developing, fairly strong ones, and they're mainly in the southeast, northern Florida, and also in the Gulf Coast area. So that's the only real major area right now. Cold air pouring in behind the system. In 2 days, when the Super Bowl starts in Miami, Sunday, that cold air will be all the way down there, and daytime highs will only be in the 60s, windy and mostly cloudy. So we're talking about some cold air going all the way back down to the Gulf again. In the meantime, out west, tropical moisture is what has been moving towards us. It's because of low pressure sitting offshore, and it's not a very strong area. It looks a lot worse than it actually is. Some colder air comes in behind it, pushes the warmer air up. Some of the clouds have come on shore already, but the system is moving due east, so it's really not going to affect us any more than some high-level clouds and some moisture moving through. That will help keep the temperatures a little bit warmer tonight, too. Next system, this frontal system, moving towards us, but weakening as it gets here. All of the moisture and rain is going up into British Columbia. I don't think we'll see anything more than a few sprinkles around Saturday night. Then maybe Sunday, when we're in the southern edge of this, a little bit better of a chance of showers from this area here. But bear in mind that as it moves towards us, it is weakening. So I don't think we'll see any substantial rain or any substantial snow anytime in the next 3 days. Next system looks like it'll come through here on about Monday night or probably Tuesday. Until then, we are sticking with fairly dry, at least a better chance for dry weather than wet weather. With that in mind, the forecast looks good. And if you're headed up to Sierra Nevada, you would like to know that the temperature up there has been in the upper 40s, some areas even around 50 degrees during the days all week. Tomorrow will be about the same. Nice weather. Overnight lows, though, very cold in the single digits. In the foothills, a pretty nice day today with some partly cloudy skies, but mostly sunny. Highs topping off in the upper 50s and lower 60s. And tomorrow they'll get a few clouds, but overall it should be another nice day. Bay Area, we do have a gale warning in effect off the northwest coast of California, but in our immediate Bay Area, temperatures only in the 60s for the high today, which is not that bad, but certainly no heat wave. The fog there has burned off. In the Central Valley, still foggy in Modesto, some fog in Stockton. Clears up when you go north of Sacramento. That's the good news there. High temperatures will top off in the low 60s today. I don't suspect we'll see any major swings in the weather at all over the next few days. Slowly, though, the pattern is turning into a wet one. So, increasing clouds for tomorrow. A slight chance of showers, a better chance on Sunday, and even better chance Monday late in the day. But pretty moderate highs in the upper 50s to low 60s. Not bad.
Once the fog burns off, it's very nice outside.
Yeah, and that's the way it'll be for the rest of the afternoon.
All right, thanks.
It was incredible, too, because it was so low, it didn't go up very high. Wayne Hagin will bring us up to date on the sports news.
We now have more information to tell you about that shooting in downtown San Jose today. One officer is dead, another is seriously wounded following an attempted arrest at a donut shop. The gunfire broke out shortly after noon while officers were attempting to question a suspect. That suspect reportedly grabbed a gun from one of the officers and shot his partner. According to witnesses, the unarmed officer then took off on foot and was chased by the suspect. That officer was shot and killed. Responding officers then shot and killed the suspect. The injured officer is reportedly in serious condition at a San Jose hospital. All of this happening in downtown San Jose, near San Jose State University.
Well, turning now to somewhat more pleasant news, Wayne Hagin joining us for sports. And what's happening with the Kings?
Boy, I wish we could all explain it. I don't know if it's just the fact that they're playing on emotion. They are young. They have a lot of things going for them. Well, the question is, how can you explain the recent success of the Kings? Well, try this one. This is just our angle. When the season began, Sacramento had 5 new players, 2 rookies, and one of the youngest lineups in the league. Now, after playing together for a few months, and it took some time, it's starting to show. These guys are playing in sync with one another, and it's a credit to great coaching, Jerry Reynolds and the rest of the crew. Last night at Arco Arena, Sacramento continued its hot streak at home against the Knicks, winning for the 7th time in 8 tries. 112-106 was the final. We pick up the action in the first half of this one. Off the miss, you will see Kenny Smith. He'll grab the loose ball, take it to the hoop for a layup. Coast to coast, Kenny led Sacramento with 23 points. New York played tough all night long. Patrick Ewing, the center, was unstoppable, scoring a career-high 38 points. Rodney McCray and LaSalle Thompson both contributed big games. Here, LaSalle gets the easy jam on the assist from McCray. Shot of the night with time running out, third quarter. Smith pulls up from downtown. Yes, the Kings had it going. The final 112-106 Kings. And after the game, it was a very happy Jerry Reynolds.
We've now beaten 3 of the division leaders, and so feel pretty good about that. I mean, obviously, we're not among them, but we've, to beat the Knicks and Houston and Lakers now in the last week or so. That's 3 of the 4. So Cleveland's on our list. I know they're scared to death.
Well, I think for our development as a team, it's definitely a high point. However, it's still one step. I think as a team, we still want to get extremely a lot more better and cut down on some of our turnovers and other things in other areas.
Now turning to the college ranks, last Sunday the Cal Bears lost a heartbreaker to the Washington Huskies by 1 point, a costly loss that could hurt their NCAA tournament chances. Well, last night in Berkeley, Cal played a monster, beating 18th-ranked Stanford 75-64, thus regaining some national recognition. Todd Lichty, the Stanford All-American, a great shot off the glass. Cardinal led by 10 in this one. But Cal battled back with a tenacious defense. Roy Fisher picks up the loose ball and does the rest himself. Nice move for the slam. Cal took the lead, and Harmon Arena was rocky. Lou Campanelli's squad pulled away in the final minutes. Leonard led Cal with 21 points and 12 rebounds. Cal is now 13-5, while Stanford falls to 13-4. The Cardinal will play host to UCLA tomorrow. The past few days, we've reported about the bizarre circumstances surrounding the San Jose State basketball program. 10 players walked out on Tuesday, leaving the team no option but to use football players, 4 of them, and some students off the campus. Well, last night, the Spartans unveiled their new team at Cal State Fullerton. Everything considered, San Jose performed well, and losing 82-60, walk-on Craig McPherson came out of the classroom to score 20 points. McPherson once played for Santa Clara. The players who left the team are upset at the way Coach Bill Berry uses intimidation tactics. This is a very serious matter that we will no doubt hear more about in the near future. Super Bowl 23 is just 2 days away. It seems like it's taken forever to get to this point. Remember, the game can be seen live on Channel 3. Kickoff is at 2 o'clock, so get your party clock set. The 2 keys for San Francisco are Joe Montana and head coach Bill Walsh. Without either guy, the 49ers wouldn't be the same team. All season long, you've heard how the two don't get along. But as Walt Gray reports, that's not exactly the case.
One subject of interest here in Miami is the Bill Walsh retirement speculation. Our Channel 3 sources say Walsh will quit because of differences with team owner Eddie DeBartolo. Both have done a fair job in recent weeks of getting along well in public, but it's widely thought Walsh will pack it in soon after Sunday's game.
There have been stages of the career, and some of our local writers can understand, where I thought I should most likely retire and turn the new coach over to our writers. And so you vacillate somewhat, depending on, I guess, how you did the last week. But on Monday or Tuesday of this next week, we will resolve what direction we're going in and how we're going to facilitate it, and we're hopeful that our entire staff and organization can remain together.
As you can tell, Walsh steps around the subject, and if he was coming back next year, he probably would have said so to stop all these rumors. Also, Walsh's relationship with his star pupil, quarterback Joe Montana, has also eroded a bit this year, though it seems fine now.
Bill's meant everything to me. I mean, I was fortunate enough to get into this organization when he was coming in and learning the offense right along with everybody else. And, you know, I owe everything that's happened here to Bill.
At the Super Bowl here in Miami, Walt Gray, Channel 3 Sports.
And we'll have some more reports from Walt a little bit later for the 5, 6:30, and of course 11. People are asking me, what do you think is going to happen with this game? I really don't have a gut feeling about it, except I have a very uneasy feeling about Cincinnati that an upset may be in the making. I'm a 49er fan, have been for years, but I think this is going to be a real good Super Bowl game. We haven't had one in years, and I think it's going to be real tight.
Okay.
Talk about it all on Monday.
You got that right.
Thanks, Walt.
Coming up next, Mike Boyd. Being aware of the dangers of winter's chill can be of vital importance to anyone who simply cannot avoid going out in the cold. But there are also hidden dangers in the cold for one special group of individuals, the elderly. Mike Boyd explains in today's For Your Health report.
During the winter, older people are prone to hypothermia, or dangerously low body temperatures. And geriatric specialists warn that certain drugs can make the elderly even more susceptible. A long list of medications can affect the body's ability to produce and retain heat. These include some heart, blood pressure, and migraine medications, as well as certain antidepressants and tranquilizers.
Some tranquilizers, such as Valium, which is the most notable, will cause some mental confusion and a lot of slowing down, and the individual may not perceive any problem with the room temperature.
Doctors say it's not known how often medications contribute to hypothermia. However, the elderly are already prone. 80% of those who die are over 65. One reason, many older people have less fat and muscle mass to keep them warm. Another, health problems like Parkinson's disease, diabetes, and arthritis can interfere with a person's ability to regulate body temperature.
I have to wear more clothes, and then when I sit down in a rocking chair, I put a lap robe over them and keep my legs and feet warmer.
Also, older people are less sensitive to temperature changes in their environment. While young people notice alterations as slight as 1 or 2 degrees, the elderly may not perceive changes unless they're 8 or 9 degrees. As a result, they may not dress properly in chilly temperatures. Specialists further warn hypothermia can occur when it's not very cold.
The temperature can just dip down to approximately 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and an individual can be exposed to hypothermic conditions.
Geriatric specialists say alcohol is another drug that can cause problems for older people during the winter. It can dull the sensation of cold and contribute to falls and accidents that can be especially dangerous during cold weather. Mike Boyd, Channel 3 reports.
There's something else that the elderly can do to protect themselves from hypothermia. Studies show that eating a diet with adequate amounts of iron can actually help prevent this condition known as hypothermia. When we come back, the story...
In Stockton today, children and parents brought more wreaths and flowers to Cleveland School there. 3 days ago, Patrick Purdy went on a shooting rampage that killed 5 children and wounded 29 others and a teacher. Purdy then took his own life. Today, the community is gathering to bury its dead. A report now from Rich Ibarra.
The sign to Cleveland School is encased in flowers, a memorial to the children who died, a reminder of the tragedy that all feel.
What were the roses for?
For Twee. For Twee Tran, the one that died. She was she was real cute and everything. And she was nice to us.
Somebody you're going to miss?
Yeah.
Melvin Combs is taking his grandson Michael to school today. Melvin's daughter and the boy's mother is Janet Gang, the teacher who was shot on Tuesday. It's Michael's first day back. Her other son in kindergarten is still at home.
He's missing his mother quite a bit, and so he wanted to kind of go up to the hospital as much as he could, but really, I think it would be good for him to start back.
Meanwhile, the funerals of the 5 youngsters killed will start tomorrow. 6-year-old Twee Tran will be buried Saturday. Vietnamese, she'll be taken to a Catholic cemetery. The other 4, Rathanar Or, Sokham Ong, Ram Chun, and Lim Owen are Cambodian, and they will be buried side by side. Civic Auditorium will be the site of the service on Monday morning beginning at 10, and even the governor is expected to attend. The families gathered at the funeral home to make preparations, and the mother of Ram Chun said it's important that her child be buried with her friends.
Because
they go to the same school and they all love each other.
It was about 11:45 when the gunman started his rampage, and during the course of Monday's funeral service, there'll be 5 minutes of silence at that time. Silence except for the sound of church bells, which will ring throughout the city in remembrance of those innocent children who were killed. In Stockton, Rich Ibarra, Channel 3 reports.
And friends and family of Sacramento Sheriff's Deputy Sergeant Richard Deffner paid tribute to him today after a year, I should say a year to the day. He died a year ago this week. Sergeant Deffner died in the line of duty while confronting a robbery suspect in a shootout in Rancho Cordova. Today, Sergeant Deffner was remembered with a plaque and flowers. Sergeant Deffner was an 11-year veteran of the Sheriff's Department. He had been decorated 5 times. He attended North Highlands High School. All this week, he is being remembered as a hero, a husband, a father, and a friend. And in Kansas City this morning, a firebomb killed 6 people, including a baby and 2 small children. The firebomb was thrown into a 2.5-story house, and it caused a huge fire. 4 people, though, were able to get out safely. Police are investigating the deaths as homicide and calling the incident arson. No motive has been established. Well, many Rancho Cordova residents